Welcome to Progressive E. This is our overview of the KO motor controller by KO Technologies. So what is it? It's a Talaria Sting controller or a Suron controller. You could also use this on another dirt bike, maybe a go-kart, I guess anything that was for forward motion applications. It has an input range of a 40 volt to 100 volt. It has a working range of 40 volt to 84 volt. It has a DC input of 375 amp, and it can output a monstrous 800 phase amps. If anyone knows what 800 phase amps feels like, it's a lot. So that on a Suron will be an absolute monster. It also has an IP67 rating, which is something that an ASI controller, I think even the factory Suron and Talaria controllers don't have a rating. The fact that the plugs, the connectors, everything has a waterproof rating is something that I think is game changing for a Suron or a Talaria, especially if you ride in wet areas or wet situations. I know that Truett and myself have had a lot of issues with like throttle control when our throttles have got wet with our ASI controllers. This thing completely removes that issue as far as the controllers is concerned. So I think that's a really great move. So what's in the box? Basically, you get a wiring harness. This plug as well has a nice rubber seal around it. Also has all the connectors glued in, all the wires glued in, just for more waterproofing. It also has this rubber boot that connects on the back, and this kind of stops any further mud, etc., that obviously is going to get into that connector. And it just has like a plug-in loom that plugs into your factory wiring on your Suron or your Talaria. The other thing it comes with is a USB dongle. This plugs into your computer. If you're going to use your phone to program the controller, then obviously you use the Bluetooth on your phone. It must be noted that to start the tuning process, you do need to start on a PC. So it's not like you can just have a phone, connect to it, and it's going to work. So you do need a computer. Right now, it doesn't work on Mac, but it does work on Windows. So just remember that you definitely do need a PC for this to work. A little bit about the design. It's obviously custom made for the Suron and obviously the Talaria because they're basically a copy of each other. It bolts directly to the Suron frame and the Suron mounting points. It pretty much fits like the original X controller. If you're comparing it to how an ASI controller would fit, it doesn't sit so far off the bike. It sits close, it sits flush. It's a very factory finish. Truett will put up some photos that we have of how that's actually fitted on the bike when it's in place. Even some of the original plastics that were removed with our ASI controllers fit back on this to give it a cleaner look on the Suron, which kind of gives it a bit more of that Talaria look where it's a better fit and finish. Something that I will note about this is that all the software that runs this is kind of technically in beta phase. It works, but I know that KO have previewed some software with some nice sliders instead of actually typing in physical numbers. So if you're not a tech savvy person and you're not really sure what values to put in, having a slider is going to be super easy for an end user. So that is coming. And the development on this has been really, really quick. So since I've purchased this, there's been updates almost daily or weekly. There's been changes to what they call hex files, which is like a motor tune. And depending what motor you have, like those hex files are different. So a lot of people have been asking us for a KO motor and controller review. So originally we had the MX motor and this controller posted to us, and now we have the RS motor coming to us. Originally we did some testing on the MX motor. It wasn't so much for us, and I think that's mainly related to the KV rating of the motor. The RS motor has a KV rating similar to the Suron. I'm really interested to see the differences. Using the MX motor, it felt like you were on like a much bigger bike with a much bigger motor. It's just the software and what they were trying to do wasn't quite right at the time before I pulled the motor out, so I can't give you a valid opinion on whether I think it's the best thing in the world or whether it's better than a stock Suron motor. At the moment, I've got it out, waiting on the RS motor to turn up. We'll put that in, we'll do a full review, we'll go through everything, we'll do some testing. Another thing as well is I wanted to make sure we had a back 8000 with an EBMX tune because in my opinion, that's the best tune out there. I wanted to try it against this. Once this software was kind of finished and validated to give a really, really good review on the RS motor and the MX motor against a back 8000. Pretty much the specs of this are almost identical to a back 8000 except for the IP rating. So I guess that's our overview. we'll run through a few key features on the back of the controller in a minute and just show you, what's different about it. So one thing I just wanted to point out is that how this controller is designed is that all the wires are hidden behind the plastic housing. So you get this nice cable way for your positive cable, a nice cable way for your negative. Also with your phase wires, they just come up from the bottom. They're nicely protected. Once these are actually screwed down, it essentially sits well below flush. There's just no way this is going to hit on the back of the bike. The other thing to note as well is this plug. This is all resin filled, so nothing's going to get down here. Another thing I wanted to point out, which I talked about before, was the waterproofing on this plug. So if you've ever seen the back of an ASI plug where they're missing pins, you can directly see light through here. On this, it's completely glued on the back, and then you have a nice rubber ring. You also have this boot, and this is the glue that I was talking about before that runs across this section. It's a really well sealed plug. I rate what they've done here, just because you know it's going to work. This is the front of the controller. It's just a really nice CNC'd piece of aluminum. And it comes in different colors. At the moment, you'll get a red and a blue. I have seen a couple other renders where it's black and got some custom gold colors in there as well. It's a solid bit of kit. I think this is probably going to be more resilient than the front of the ASI. So should you buy it? I'm going to say yes if you want to try something new and you're willing to wait for this to be perfected. I think in the next few weeks this will be perfected. Probably by the time you watch this, the software on this will be dialed. I would buy it just for the fact that you get a complete custom controller that you can easily program and change yourself. The backup and the customer support from KO has been excellent on this. These guys are definitely one of the best out there for providing feedback and getting back to their customers as soon as possible. So that's a big positive for this product. These guys aren't backing down, and they do back this product 100%. So that's our mini review or overview of the KO controller. Stay tuned for the motor testing very soon.